really with Bing, what we were focusing on was trying to figure out what people were actually doing with search. So it's one thing to go chase the traditional model of search, right? Which is you put a keyword in, you get 10 blue links back, and then you as the consumer have to kind of parse through all these things to figure out what you want to click on. So really with Bing, what we did was we kind of stepped back and said, okay, what's it going to take, right, to really capture some of that mind share, to capture some of those users? And what the answer really was we thought at least, was really getting back to our geek roots and getting back into the data and trying to figure out what people were actually doing on the web. And so what that resulted in was a bunch of things inside of Bing, a bunch of features inside of Bing that we think actually cater better to how people are actually using search today. Things like hover preview, right? So you don't have to click on the link and realize it's a bogus link. Things like categorize search, right? So you can actually, when you punch in a search term, we structure the results back in a certain way. So you don't have to actually sit there and read every single caption to figure out if that's the result that you want. Things like our travel price predictor, things like our cashback, all those things, right? So we, again, looked at the problems folks were having on the web today with search. And then we built features and functionality into the product to address those particular needs. So it's less about, you know, going after the competition. It's more about understanding what the users are actually doing and trying to build a product that will cater to those needs. So there's a couple of things that we have to look at when we're looking at these things. You know, we always said, and we continue to believe, it's a long-term game. Right? It's a long-term play to increase share. But really, when you look at what we're competing against, there's a habit, right? There's a habit today that people are they were very accustomed to going to their engine of choice, right? And it's hard to break that habit. In fact, we did a study a while ago now, before Bing was actually ever launched, to figure out just how ingrained that habit was in consumers. And if you look at, I can't think of the exact phrasing, but basically you look at kind of where deciding which search engine to use on a given query, if you look at where that fell in the continuum of you making a conscious choice, it was between whether or not to brush your teeth before you go to bed at night and shaking your leg in a meeting. So literally it was that just subconscious. You were actually, people don't even think about it. So our challenge, frankly, is to introduce the brand to people so they know there's an alternative out there to go search. Introduce the fact that Bing will do things that honestly no other engine does today. I mean, things like our exclusive stuff around opinion ranking and price prediction, all that kind of stuff. You can't get that anywhere else, right? In a major search engine. So a lot of what we have to do is get out there, and you've seen the advertising, you've seen how we've integrated that into primetime shows, you've seen how we've gone into Fallon, for example, and done work with that. So kind of non-traditional stuff as well as the 30-second spots. But then it's about getting the distribution. Because what we found, to your point, is that when people try it, they like it. So we have to get folks to try it and get more trials. And so getting distribution as defaults with OEMs, doing a lot of those types of deals, helps us get that in front of more consumers more often. Bing, when we built it, we decided to not just, again, create another search engine. The world isn't waiting for yet another search engine. We had to do something that we thought actually catered to what people were actually doing. And that's where we came up with this notion of a decision engine. And the decision engine, when you think about it, really has three big components. First is great core search, so nailing the basics, relevance, speed, multimedia integration, great previews, that kind of thing. That's the first thing we've got to nail. But the second and third things were what make Bing unique. Second thing is that organization of results. When you do a query for Taylor Swift, you get back 16.1 million results. You don't want that, and frankly, customers told us that was overwhelming. They had spent way too much time parsing that data to figure out what they wanted. So providing a level of organization so we can kind of break those things down for the user on the results page. And then the third area that differentiates Bing from other engines, other search engines, are these tools for insight that help you make those key decisions. So it's things like tools we built in travel, and tools we built for local, tools we built for shopping. And really, when you think about it, what got me really excited when we started seeing the early comps of Bing was that we were taking search in a different direction. We were actually adapting the user experience, adapting the interface based on the intent of the user and the task of the user. I mean, I think the idea was you shouldn't, if you're trying to find the best ticket to Arizona for the weekend to go hang out with your buddies, for example, giving you back a list of links in a very, very standardized format doesn't make sense. Like, we should be smart enough, engines should be smart enough to take the question and adapt the way we display the results to the consumer in a way that actually is logical for that task. That's what Bing does. So those are 3 big areas of Bing. That's why it's different than the rest. As far as revenue or the business model is concerned, it's contextual ads, right? So as people punch in keywords into Bing, our Ad Center product allows advertisers to bid for those keywords in an auction model, and we can display those text links on the right rail or on the top of the results. So pretty standard.